myself again, but it's the only way.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith, joined as always on a Friday night by Steve Hasty and Mitch, the three amigos back together in 2022. And I almost feel like I should have started the show with ABBA's Money, Money, Money or something. It's been one of those surreal weeks where we're not used to sitting watching Sky Sports News. I've actually watched it like virtually 24/7 working from home this week going, we're getting linked with everybody. Yeah. It's and I'm sure most people have done it in some way, shape, or form, whether they're on their tablets, on their phones, or whatever. But an amazing week, and we'll get to that. But Steve, I really want to give you an opportunity to pay respects to the late, great Dave Harrison, of course, a former member of this parish who was sadly taken from us this week. And obviously he was very instrumental in playing his part with the food bank.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tragic news on Monday when we heard Steve. I think everybody was in shock. Wonderful gentleman. And that is the word, when sometimes that word gets bandied around a little bit, as a free-for-all. But David was an absolute gentleman. And obviously, most of us got to know him through the work that he did, supporting us on match days at the food bank collection point on Strawberry Place. My connection goes back a little bit further. David and David's mother and my mother were cousins. Typical Wallsend, and my mother never ever called David's mother by her married name. She always referred to her by her maiden name. It was always two names. It was always Josie Maguire rather than Josie Harrison or anything like that. And our paths crossed very, very early. As youngsters down when he was in Walker and I went to school in Walker. He was a few years older than me. But we sort of reconnected mainly over football. And we had if you remember on one of the retro shows, we talked about, I talked about a relation of mine who went to Portsmouth, traveling overnight, etc., leaving work at 7 in the morning after a night shift, going straight down to Portsmouth and then coming back. And Dave came up to us at the food bank one night and he just said, you're talking about my uncle. And I went, what? And he goes, my uncle. And he goes, you're talking on the show, you're talking about my uncle. And I was, what are you on about, David? And then I remembered, of course, that John, who I was referring to, was Dave's uncle, And I'd known John like virtually all my life, until he passed away. So we kind of reconnected as sort of distant family members. And it was really good. We had a real good laugh about it. And, it was just an absolute gentleman. And the thing with him was that everybody liked him. He never had a bad word to say. And again, that's a cliche that is often bandied around. But I never heard David say a bad word about anyone. And I think when we were doing these shows and then his appearances on Toon Review and some of the others, the loaded lads got to know him, etc. And then coming into Strawberry and Mitch, I introduced you to him in the Strawberry when you were over here last week. You and Stuart, and of course he thought the world of Keith as well and the work that he was doing, Keith Patterson. So it was really good for us all to be together and chatting to him. And I think that's probably why it came as an even bigger shock to us. And all I can really say is that to his family, pass on our deepest sympathy to his wife and two daughters and the grandkids and everybody else who knew him. And obviously, we said we would dedicate tomorrow's collection to Dave, but I've been talking to Paul from Toon Review. I think there's something going to be in the matchday programme after during the Watford game, the Watford programme. And maybe that's a good time for us all to get together and really as supporters, show proper tribute to David perhaps during the game. But let's see where that takes us. But yes, very, very sad news to start the new year with the guys. Yeah,
Mitch, you only met him briefly, but it's clear to see on the social media front and front page of the Evening Chronicle as well how dearly he was loved, not just by Newcastle fans, but by those family members that he leaves behind, and of course his friends from work and archery.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, and I think his involvement with the British archery team is understated in all of this almost, and it shouldn't be. To be introduced to him for somebody who really have only had contact with through this platform and through social media. The kind and very humbling words he shared with me in the Strawberry when Steve introduced him to me suddenly mean a hell of a lot more. And grateful for the time he spent with me, and grateful for those words. And all, it's humbling as somebody who shares a platform with you guys, who has a bit of a voice, isn't frightened to use his voice to get feedback like he gave me was special. But I think that's a measure of the man from all the ways that I've got to know him through looking at what he's done in his life and what he's done, particularly in the recent years with regards to food bank.
Yeah, top man, absolutely top man. And as I've said already on this program, he will be sorely missed. But our love and thoughts go to his family. Okay, moving on to football matters. And Mitch, what a start for the new owners! Exactly. I think I've been grinning like a Cheshire cat all week as well, mate. Trippier, was mentioned a while back. And, he's come through the door. I've seen his interview today. I think the only thing that soured it slightly for me, and again, Sky Sports insist on doing this, of all the questions he was asked, they still brought up the fact that it was Saudi money. Did that play a part in his decision-making? Really, really annoying. Cut the narrative out. Forget about it. The takeover's done. Stop getting salty. And let's just accept that Newcastle United are the richest club, one of the richest clubs, if not the richest club in the world, Mitch. But Trippier coming in, said all the right things, and he's a good turn, isn't he?
And that's not the worst thing that's been done and said today for me. Oliver Holt's tweet today is outrageous.
I'm not going to share it because I don't want the guy to get oxygen.
No,
but
it's outrageous and has no place in any narrative. And it's perfect to set us up as a fan base to be somebody to go, yeah, look, they're sports washing. They're ignoring the big issues. No, I'm sorry, I won't have that bullshit. So let us enjoy what's happening. Let us enjoy the fume that's unfolding. Ralph Hasenhüttl down at Southampton having his little meltdown and now being joined in by David Moyes. Basically, the two clubs who are telling us they don't have any money to spend in January without telling them that they've got no money to spend in January. Making such ridiculous things like you can change the rules as we go along to keep your players out from rearranged games. What a load of bullshit that is as well. And this is the kind of thing we're going to face. And I get the feeling, look, we've got a hell of a lot of irons in the fire here. And I genuinely believe of all the names that are being bandied around, some of the people that are going to come in are going to be like zap, pow, here they are, and they're going to come off the radar. They're going to come, underneath the noise that's going on around, because people are now playing sort of random scattergun transfer target. Let's have a guess at who they might be in for. Anybody who's up and available is being linked. Because they know this window, there's very few teams are going to be spending big money and where the big money is, and that's what's ultimately going to talk. Nothing talks like money in football. Trippier, I think, is a very shrewd signing. If you take me back to when we discussed this about what I wanted to see in the window, or what I think we're going to see in the window, and this is genuinely what I still stick with, we're going to see some solid signings who've got understanding of how the Premier League works, who can drop straight in to improve our squad. I'm still convinced we'll see a name of some description because that's going to sell shirts and sell the dream in Saudi. And it really wouldn't surprise me at all to see a marquee type signing scattered in there. I'm not talking about going and signing, half of PSG's team or whatever. That's just ridiculous. But there'll be something in there to keep the Saudi side of things happy. And maybe it's a little joker or two, something else that might just come out with the blue. And I think we'll get this blend, this little mix of things in the window. And that's why I'm just sitting back and smirking and smiling. Because to be honest with you, the press are all guessing. I haven't seen anybody who's come up with a really good inside track anyway yet. Or maybe people do have an idea, but they're not ballsy enough to stick their neck on the line. Don't know. Either way, though, it's great fun, isn't it?
It is great fun, Steve. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I've smiled like this in a transfer window for a very long time. And certainly not under Mike Ashley I've been as excited. It's like Christmas morning every morning at the moment, getting up to find out who potentially could be coming through the door. And the difference is that we're being linked with these players. And I've often said, don't read the papers, don't read the media. It drives you up the wall. But even I'm getting sucked in now because I know that genuinely when Newcastle have been linked with this player, that there is a genuine chance that if we want him and the player wants to come, we could get him.
Absolutely. And you know what? What it's also done is it's for all of the doubters, for all the people who said, you know, Saudi weren't interested, PIF weren't interested, etc., etc. Then the takeover happens. And we know how serious the new owners are. We know the very fact that you have someone like the head of PIF turning up week in, week out to home games for Newcastle, it's at James's Park, tells you something. It tells you there's more than this. Isn't just, you know what, we'll come in, we'll buy you, and then we'll just let you settle
they're not hands off, are they?
Yes, it's not Burnley, is it? It's not Southampton. It's not Leicester City. This is Newcastle United. It's not even Manchester City, where the owner has been seen once in 11 or 12 years. You know, we've seen the guy who's been instrumental in forming this takeover and fighting for it and being part of it and getting himself named as the chairman of the football club. We've seen him turn up at St James's Park, and I wouldn't be surprised if he turned up tomorrow for what is basically a third round FA Cup game against Cambridge United. If he's there tomorrow, what a signal that makes! What 52,000 people inside St James's Park for an FA Cup third round, and the chairman of PIF again turns up. That would be, that sends a message to the football world that, you know, Newcastle United are serious players and PIF are serious owners, along with the rest of the consortium, in making Newcastle United a force to be reckoned with. And as we move on. And I agree with everything you've both said about the targets and about the names that are being bandied around, the excitement that it's giving. We've heard all sorts of names for months and months now. If, you know, people have been linked with and it's drifted away, or you've had this, you know, you couldn't get it over the line. I don't think we're in that ball game anymore of you couldn't get it over the line. I think that's a phrase, if anything, to do with takeovers that's been consigned to history with the ownership under Mike Ashley. I don't think we'll hear that anymore.
Well, I think we're saying something interesting in terms of how modern football is. We're about a business and this thing with Botman. No, I'll get that in. You know, he's liking every Newcastle United post on just about every platform, be that him or his social media. If that's a message from the player, I want to go there. I don't know what is. And to be honest with you, again, let's come back to money talking. If you look at the state of the finances in football that we banged on about for months, and we'll not go there too long now because we're having a good time. What we've got on the table for Lille would pay their wage bill for the next 2 years. Yeah. Business sense says, take the money. It's not deal or no deal. There's no banker ringing you up and getting a chance to open the box. You know, it's not going to be one of these, like, you know, it's not a box of riddles. It's there's the money. It's going to keep your wage bill for the next 2 years. In terms of FFP for them, that's a lifeline. They can try and make a noise that they're playing hard to get and that they're playing the tough guy, but at the end of the day, it might take a week longer. Which, okay, I get that. Some people are getting a bit antsy that we want so many in before Watford because Watford's such a crucial game. But we've got the whole of January to do the signings. And again, if the chairman turns up for the FA Cup tie, why else is he here? Because he wants to be hands-on with what's going on in the transfer market too. Because we're spending, essentially, PIF's money. So, it's for me, it's really, really exciting. It's interesting that I'm getting a totally different perspective from the sort of media in this part of the world to what we're getting at home. There's a lot more level-headedness out here about the transfer window and less hype, and obviously less of the tagging and bringing things in that they shouldn't really be bringing in anymore. But they're going to continue that in the UK. We're just going to have to suck that up. And every time somebody accuses us of saying, "Oh, you're ignoring this and you're ignoring that," no, we're not. As I said in the piece I wrote for Amigos a couple of weeks ago, Geordie's never are or never will going to be a silent partner in anything. Look at the reaction to the Rainbow Laces, for example. Look at the reaction to the Australian player coming in. And when people were attacking the club on social media from Saudi, the fans biting back. That's what we should do, and that's what we've got to do. It is a partnership at the end of the day. It's a two-way street, and we exercise our voice in that. And if anybody accuses the fan base of not doing that, they're talking out their backs.
Yeah, ongoing talks. Craig Hope says on Twitter about 10 minutes ago with Joe White and Elliot Anderson. Joe White's deal is up in the summer and he's free to talk to non-English clubs now. Eddie Howe has said that today he sees big futures for White and Elliot Anderson, both 19-year-old and both have a chance to feature in tomorrow. Good news on that, Mitch, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we're going to sign our Botmans, we need our Robins to go along with them. We should be protecting the youth and keeping that all together, Really, it's something we've struggled with, and we go on and on and on about again ad infinitum about the real lack of productivity from our academy and our youth setup. And what an exciting time for them to be coming through. And then also that should then give motivation to the club, looking at the root and branch things that they want to change, because they do. We said up front, everybody involved in the consortium is absolutely 100% convinced that we need root and branch change at the youth level. We've got a massive opportunity as well, by the way, with Middlesbrough in the Championship and not really knocking down trees, and Sunderland in the third division. And their academies cannot function the way a Premiership club does because they don't have Premiership club money. So we've got an opportunity to be rebuilding our academy system at a prime time when the local opposition's on their knees. And so, to see two players come through the system saying, right, there's a contract, we want to keep you and we want to use you, we want to get you involved. To see them on the bench every now and again. Do you remember when Man U used to bring players on and we'd all go, who the hell's that? They'd be on the bench and they'd come on 20 minutes before the end of the game. And then you'd go, who the hell was that? I'd come on towards the end of the game. They were pretty great, them. And then it turned out it was Scholes, and then it was David Beckham. And then, we should be looking to have a system whereby we can do that, where you blood these young talent in a way where they're encouraged to become better. The pressure's not on their shoulders. I think go back to I want to get Tony Loma and the pressure on him. He's still the club's second youngest ever goal scorer. And when he scored that goal, he was 17 years and 9 months, something like that. Mm-hmm. Certainly, he'd only just left school and I was doing my A-levels, and the pressure on him, back page of the Chronicle, he's the next Jackie Milburn. That's a heavy weight to put on a young kid's shoulders. Whereas if we've got a system where we can blood them nice and slowly, get them out in good loans, not the shite loans that we've had players out on good loans where they come back enriched as a player, or tougher, or whatever it is they need to be better, and then blood them into Premiership games. The way Man City are doing. Look at the talent Man City are potentially bringing through. And they're doing that exactly the same way. And that's what we need to be looking at next for that root and branch review and what's going on with the academy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's good to see the young players getting a mention, isn't it, Steve? Because as Mitch has already said, bringing in quality players like Trippier, hopefully Botman and others in the next couple of weeks, you do need that young blood behind. And Eddie Howe, believes in youth and will give youth a chance if they're good enough. So those two clearly have impressed him in his first couple of months at the club. And bringing Matty Longstaff back as well, I still think he could break through and realise his potential as he should have done previously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you've also got to remember is that when you bring in, like say, a Trippier, for example, a quality player, a player with such fabulous international experience, played in Euros, he's played in World Cups, he's pedigree in the Premier League, then going away and playing in La Liga and winning La Liga. It's how those young players that you're trying to bring in, it's how those young players react to being in that environment with a player like that and what they can learn. And this is where people like Steve Harper, for example, who's running the academy, this is where they have a very, very important role to play, because they've got to drum it into these youngsters that, there are opportunities there, but they've got to be willing to learn. Just because you get into the under-23 squad doesn't mean that you've made it. And it's also a situation where we as fans also have to be a little bit more patient with some of those younger players coming through. For some reason, over the last 10 or 15 years, Newcastle's turned into this sort of place where if you're a youngster coming through, then there seems to be more pressure on you than there is if you're bought. So you've got the Longstaffs, and we've got people who are constantly on the back of Sean, for example, for performances that you don't think's good enough, and then next thing you know, people are going, he's rubbish, blah blah blah. I've heard it about Dummett as another example. We had it with Stephen Taylor. All of these were good footballers who came through and get the chance, and I sometimes feel as though we don't support them enough. We don't give them the backing. And as I say, when it comes to the youngsters that are coming through now, they have a role. They have a responsibility of their own to learn, but at the same time, that they also have to realise that this isn't going to be handed them on a plate anymore either. So it's a fine balancing act. I feel sorry sometimes for the youngsters because I think I've just there was an article saying that 97% of kids who come through who are in academies don't break into first teams, certainly in the Premier League. That's a phenomenal waste of talent, and it shows you the pressures there, the difficulties that ensue. But when the opportunities come, those youngsters do have to grab it, and I'm hoping that we will see the likes of Elliot Anderson, Joe White, Dylan Stevenson, and a few more others get the chance in good games, show what they can do, put the pressure on the first team players. And when they do get the opportunity, grasp it with both hands, because that's what it's all about. You're dead right about Man City, the way that they put out that blend that they've got where they can bring people in. And it was interesting when you mentioned about Man United and the youngsters and Bloodman. They were getting Champions League games, for goodness sake.
I think
Steve, I'll have to stop you there now, mate. I'll have to stop you because we did try to let you go, but it's your internet's cocking up again, mate.
It's
so if you want to,
right? I'll try.
It's the Kraftwerk. It's the Kraftwerk remix. That's what it is.
Yeah. It seems to have calmed down again, Steve. So you want to continue, mate? It should be fine. It's fine. The picture's not great, but we can hear you perfectly. Go on.
Right. I'm just sitting. You carry on, guys. I'll try and switch this to another system. Okay.
All right, mate. No problem. We'll come back to Steve on his views on that. Basically, this transfer window is make or break, though. It is about relegation for us at the moment. We are sitting in the bottom three. I found it interesting today, Mitch, about Cantwell. I mean, that was one that broke on Sky News last night. Watched their manager today chat about the potential of a moving away, and there was a little veiled dig from Dean Smith, that he said money doesn't buy you out of relegation. I thought that was interesting today.
Absolutely, and but again, we've just got to put up with all this and let them go on, and everybody's going to have a whinge, everybody's going to have a moan. Tough. Have we broke any rules? No. If we want to go back to it, and there was a great tweet that you probably should ask us this week about. Well, I tell you what, let's replay the last 18 months when we should have had a legitimate takeover, which you actually decided 18 months too late was. It's how far back do you want to take all these things? It's absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't take you don't need to be bloody Commissioner Gordon to work out, why these digs and veiled things are going on. You don't have to be a super sleuth. It's quite obvious what's going on. Is everybody is shitting their pants because we've got a lot of money to spend. Simple as that. And somebody like Dean Smith knows, like in the case of Botman, we put the right check on the table, the people above them will sell them. Bye. That's it. And no matter how hard the manager wants it not to harm him, for a club like Norwich in particular, who make their existence by being self-sufficient like that, by selling players on. Christ, it's not the first time we bought one of our players off them for not an insignificant amount of money not that long ago. That's how they survive. And they rely on player sales to keep their books balanced and then so. That he knows fine well as manager, there's talent there that will disappear if the right check is placed on the table by somebody with the right amount of money. And we are somebody with the right amount of money. But that's why we're being linked with bloody Uncle Tom Cobley and all. Because everybody knows in the press we've got money to spend. So any half disgruntled player, his agent's probably ringing somebody saying, "Oh, Newcastle are interested in my lad." And all of this is going on in the background. And that's fine. I think Newcastle are using it wonderfully in terms of smoke and mirrors even. I still think the reality of the signings will be very different in some respects to some of the names that are being bandied about. Some will take you by surprise. And that's not based on anything I know. That's just based on what the hell I'm seeing with my eyes and hearing what's going on. It's almost pure chaos. I've never known us be linked. The only thing I do know is that, somebody I know within the club says he's not seen this amount of activity within the club. Probably since that January when Ashley went mad and signed, was it the 7 players in that January when we were in trouble? And before that, you can't remember, that amount of activity around the club. So it means something's happening. Something big's happening, I think. But what it is, even better if they can use all these distractions going around on the outside, and play the two-faced card whereby we say we'll make an impression that we're doing one thing, but actually what we're really doing is under the radar. Fantastic, here they are, bang. And I think we're going to get a day sometime in the next week where we're going to get a surprise like that. I really do. And that's partly why I'm so bloody excited. Because it's a feeling in the water. It's just like, this is nuts. I've never known anything like it, even with Man City. I don't remember them getting this much attention in terms of, who they're going to sign and what they're going to do. But then again, their situation was quite different from us. They were allowed a relatively straightforward takeover, and they had a little bit of a time to plan and just do things in a nice staged manner. We're not. We're all hands to the pumps because we're looking over our shoulder at relegation and we're looking ahead about how many points we need to scramble back out to safety. And so these signings are critical of it. And that's why I genuinely think we're going to get a really nice mix and a blend of people coming in. And they're all going to enhance the squad. But I also think there's going to be some surprises in there, genuinely.
What's your view on Cantwell? I mean, I've seen mixed opinions on Cantwell, but, I always liked him. I mean, when he broke through at Norwich and Norwich came up that first time, he really impressed me. And I thought he would do a great job at Newcastle, playing alongside somebody who could hold the ball up and ping it to him and let him just get on. He supports the forwards.
Cracking player, but do we need another number 10? Because we've got about 12 false 10s, according to Steve Bruce anyway. But we're certainly, I think we're not short of a support striker. If you had, let's say Callum Wilson's out for the next 8 weeks and they bring somebody in to play up front, but it's a very different style of striker. See if let's go totally different Callum Wilson's. Let's say big target man, right? And we'll get a big target man who can hold the ball up. Behind him, we've got a plethora of riches. It brings Willock into his more natural position and puts him in more attacking positions. It brings the SM in. It brings Almiron in. It brings Fraser in. Suddenly, we've got people coming onto that ball, which potentially is being held up by a big target man, Christ, some teams are going to not know who to pick up and where to go. And so Cantwell would go into that bracket for me. That's not what we need right now. If we're going to spend 15 million on him, I'd rather see we chuck 15 million at a fullback. And so right and left flanks out at the same time. If that Tagliafico was available from Ajax for around 12 million, that's where I'd rather see that money invested. Because we don't really need a player like Cantwell right now. Because we've got enough of them, in my opinion. I don't think that's an area we need to strengthen. I think we need to be looking up front. I think we need to be looking at centre-back. And I think we need to be looking at left full-back. And if let's be greedy, let's have a real proper bruiser of a midfielder, a horrible, nasty bugger, or a horrible, nasty centre-back, you know, a modern-day Brian Kilcline. And I think I mentioned the name Conor Cody a couple of weeks ago. That would be my modern-day Kilcline to sort of our back forward. Every time I watch him play, I see a nasty piece of work that I would love to have in my centre of my defence. And I think that's partly why he gets the England recognition he does, because he's no nonsense. And so that's where the areas I would rather see the money used on than somebody like Cantwell, as good as he is. Potential target for the future. Well, you know what? If Norwich go down and they stick a fire sale out, we might get him for less in the summer. So, you know, I think for me, that's not a name I would be moving on first, personally.
Steve, Cantwell, what's your thoughts on him?
Tidy little player. Tidy. Very impressed with him last season. Or was it the season before when he broke through? When we were in the Premier League, didn't see much of him in the Championship, and then of course he's hardly played this season. Whether there was a falling out after an injury, or whether it was just a falling out or a non-trusting manager in terms of the way that Norwich was set up. But Dean Smith has hardly used him either. It's interesting that you mentioned Dean Smith before, and you mentioned Hassan Hüttl. Two managers who, let's face it, would have walked over hot coals to get the Newcastle job if it had been offered them, you know. And there's two of them who are just two of probably many who are going to be shouting the odds about Newcastle United in the next few weeks. Listening to the two of them today, and Moyes, another example, you know, change the rules midstream. But I mean, Cantwell, like I said, decent enough player. But for me, I think that I think Sean Longstaff's just as good as Cantwell, if not better. And I think there's a football Sean Longstaff, and that's why I'm disappointed when I hear stories about him being, you know, clubs offering £1 million for him, or him being linked with a as a make weight in a move for a player at Everton, for example, in Digne, the fullback. And I'm thinking, I don't think we need to offer players as make weights. I think we've got enough players in our squad that can be passed over and moved on without the likes of a Sean Longstaff. And I would like to see Sean Longstaff offered another contract and stay at Newcastle United, part of the rebuild. Word
we had from the club was he's pulling up trees and training again. And him and Joe Linton are the two players everybody wants to be on the same side as in training. Then that's quite significant, because I think Longstaff is a confidence player, and I think when he's one of these players that needs his tummy rubbed, you know, just to feel better. But I think once his confidence is up, I think that's when you get the best out.
Yeah. Other names that have been mentioned this week, of course, Steve, have been Coutinho. Well, he's now gone on a 6-month loan to Aston Villa. And Origi and Brayton Diaz are getting a lot of mileage in the newspapers as well. For me, I would buy Brayton Diaz and Origi, because I think we need more than one centre forward to complement what we've already got in Callum Wilson. And I think it gives us a good, solid player and a natural goal scorer. I think that would be a perfect mix. I mean, all good teams have 4 competent forwards who can put the ball in the back of the net. That's the way it should work, really. But I guess a little bit on Brayton Diaz and Origi. What you think of those two, and were you disappointed to miss out on Coutinho?
let's take Coutinho first. No, not necessarily. I think Coutinho's days were numbered when he couldn't get into the Barcelona team and had to go to Germany and spend a couple of seasons with Bayern Munich. I think from what we're hearing, he's one of those players who's very, very quiet, needs an arm around him. And it's interesting that Mitch mentioned that with Sean needing a little bit of confidence. I think Sean's got all the qualities, but I think with Coutinho, apparently very, very, very quiet lad, and didn't pull up the trees, couldn't take the pressure at Barcelona, and I think that the pressure at Newcastle United would probably be unbearable.
Yeah,
coming to Newcastle
particularly
time.
Particularly when you think the state Barcelona are in at the minute, and who we've got playing up front for them, and he can't dislodge them on a regular basis.
Exactly. Diaz, absolutely remarkable little run that he's gone on with Blackburn, who are doing extremely well under the former Middlesbrough manager. And you've got to be impressed but the thing is, players like this who can score goals regularly are going to cost money. And luckily for us, we've got the money. And the likes of Blackburn probably, with the Venkies, could probably afford to hold back and take the promotion before they then sell him. But I think the only problem we'll have with Diaz is that Broughton Diaz is that he suddenly became Chilean overnight, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago? So I don't know whether that suddenly means that there's work permit problems, or whether this ridiculous rules that exist make it an issue for him moving on.
I think he's
in the UK for all his life probably means that he's got some sort of clause there.
He's a dual passport holder, mate. I think it's as simple as that.
Exactly.
Have you seen his adverts for Pepsi? The Chilean ones, fantastic. And talk about somebody getting really into the spirit of it all.
He's got into by learning the language as well, and when he went over there, and I saw a little interview of him on the BBC a couple of weeks ago where he was talking about the going over there, and obviously it's from his mother's side of the family, and his mother speaks the language, and he's suddenly taken an interest and he's putting his heart and soul into it, and that's really good because that shows a player with commitment, and I'm impressed with that type of thing. Origi, again, interesting with Origi. Obviously, would Liverpool want to sell?
10 million is the price, and Liverpool are happy to let him go.
But that's interesting.
If he is available for that, get him signed up.
Yeah, they've got 2 strikers out at the African Cup of Nations. He's got 6 months left on his contract, and it says an awful lot about Liverpool and their financial situation if they're going to look for £10 million for him, when they know that he can go on a free. Is that the Americans now playing hardball? What's going on there? That makes me wonder. He's not prolific, but he's certainly a handful, and he could do a job for us. Whether or not short term or long term, I'm not too sure. The other thing you've got, of course, is if Wilson's out for 8, 10, 12 weeks, would the club be going out and getting someone that is a direct replacement for Wilson, as Mitch said, about a change of style of football, suddenly a target man? All of these are the really interesting facets, and we know that Eddie Howe will be wanting to stamp his own face on the football club and the way that we're playing. I think that's another aspect of the excitement that the likes of you two and myself are probably getting ourselves worked up into. Some people are just looking at results and looking at that, but we're looking at longer term how Eddie Howe's going to shape this club over the next 2, 3, 4 seasons.
I think more and more, whereas a lot of people had concerns about, well, we don't have a director of football and what have you. I think that the signings this window as well will probably reflect how much they're trusting Eddie Howe's vision. We've been told a couple of times by different people that the presentation he brought to the table was comprehensive, impressive, and everybody was, wowed by this vision that he had of, to Nick Rafa's phrase, of his project. And so is this Eddie Howe's vision or who is coordinating this. Because if these signings come in and it looks like a cohesive, thought-through plan, then, somebody needs a lot of high praise, because as a consortium, they've suddenly got their act together, whereas early on, it seemed like there was a clunkiness and a clumsiness to the decision-making process, born out of the fact that everything had to be rubber-stamped in Riyadh. I've got no doubt still everything is rubber-stamped in Riyadh. But if there's somebody acting as a focal point to keep everybody focused on the outcome, and these signings look cohesive and right and as part of a bigger plan, then fair play to everybody, But again, that's one of the other things that excites us, is let's see what the next 2 weeks unfold.
Yeah, does that tell you, Mitch, that perhaps the priority moves from a director of football post to more a chief executive role that they're looking for?
Yes. Maybe.
That's the result. Move away from a director of football, sporting director, a chief executive who will oversee the whole business aspect of the football club, and allow, as you say, whoever behind the scenes is identifying some of the players that we're being linked with, and some of the players that we feel could be coming in over the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think some statement signings as well. By the way, I think there'll be a couple of signings in there that might shake the football world up. I think that is the way quite often that and you'll know more than me, Mitch, about how the mentality within the Middle East, and how when Manchester City came and had the pressures and that. And I think we might see something along those lines as well over the next 2 or 3 weeks that completely take the football world by surprise.
As we've said on a few of the shows over the last 18 months, football support in the Middle East is still very much based around place and names, and not necessarily teams. People will jump on a winning horse. I've told this story. The day Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund played each other in the Champions League final, I've never seen so many Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund shirts in Dubai out and about for the week leading up to that game, either before or since. We're in a region where historically support has trended towards the teams that came here historically. That's why Liverpool and Man U have got quite established fan bases out here. And Real Madrid were one of the first Spanish teams to come out here for training camps and things like that, and to touch base with the region. But still, outside of those three, it's a bit of a free-for-all. And people follow players. Yeah. And I think if we want to get the Saudi fans, and Al-Walid probably will explain this better than me, but if you want to get Saudi excited about Newcastle United, you need a big name on the back of the shirt for them to go and buy. Yeah. And I know fine well people know this. And it doesn't matter whether that's a young superstar, or it doesn't matter if that's a superstar coming towards the end of their career. If you look at how support shifted from Real Madrid to Juventus to Man United out in this region with Ronaldo's moves. Simple as that. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a very random left field signing that nobody's talking about and nobody dares talk about. Because that's the way they want to do it. And so the support out here is very much based on names, and if you want to get Saudi excited, stick a name on the back of the shirt.
Yeah, 100%. Great stuff. Great to be talking about that. Dave W., I have seen all the comments, mate. It's very difficult, though, to start the show to get them all on because it goes so quickly. So I tend to dip into them in the second half of the show. So apologies if you have got a point to make. Can I suggest you maybe stick it up in about 15 minutes, and I'll come to that. But first up, the day I met. The day I met, where we ask you to send in photographs of you with Newcastle legends, former managers, former players, or people who work at the club, and got quite a few to get through tonight for a change. Alan Mole, thank you for this. The day he met Tino, and I'm sure that looks like it's in a pub that I was at. I'm pretty sure that was in the Big Market, and I think England were playing, if I remember rightly. It looks very familiar anyway, Alan. So thanks for sending us that. We've got a couple of doublers today as well. Mike Focus, thanks for this. Talking at the Lancastrian Suite with King Pav. Thank you for that, Mike. Again, that was one of my events, I'm pretty sure. This one, a younger Pav from Steve Toon Wilkes. And that is Pavel Cernacek outside the old Milburn reception. And I'm pretty sure that's Pavel's car as well that he's standing beside. But cracking photo. I'm not quite sure who that is in the background. It looks a little bit like old Stevie, but I don't think it is. And then this one from Steve with Peter Beardsley. Looks like it's at St James's Park, that one, in the old executive boxes. So nice photo of Peter there. And then we've got this one of Peter from Paul Barrett, who says he met Peter Beardsley at a Rod Stewart concert at Newcastle Arena a good few years back. My sister spotted him and asked him to wait while she fetched me because he was my hero. And he found me, and when we got back, Peter was still there. He had waited so I could get the photo. What a guy, which is typical of Peter Beardsley. Anybody who knows Peter, that's the kind of thing he does. And this one of Peter... the day I met, this is my son last week at Pedro's soccer school with Kenny Wharton and Peter himself. And of course, that was sent to us before Christmas from the Mags. I've only just got to it now, but Peter Beardsley, of course, ran a soccer school up at the Falcons, which was a huge success. Me and Steve Hasty popped along on different days to go and give him a bit of support. And yeah, it was fantastic. Keep them coming in. Send them to me at Steve Wraith on Twitter, or stick them in to me at Steve Wraith on Facebook. Still got a little bit of a backlog of them, but get them over. It's always good to share them with people on the show. Thanks for sending them in. Over 700 watching at the minute, so I'll give a shout out to the sponsors. Big shout out to Spider VPN for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN. They are the boys to trust. They can help protect the computer and everything on it. So Google Spider VPN at the top of your Google search list. Give the lads a shout today. Gareth did ask a question. I have seen it, Gareth. I will come to it next. Skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors 0191 389 7245 and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.thegohd.com. Chris Collins, big shout out to you in the chat as well. Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen needs and necessities. Google Arcot Interiors. They come up at the top of the Google search list once again. And you can also find them on Heaton Road in Newcastle. And thanks to John, who's in the chat, qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle. And he also runs our website, NUFCmatters.com. Jab Signature, shout out to you as well, mate. It was great to have you on the show with Dougie and Dean last night. Jabsignature.co.uk. Big things happening with Jab over the next 12 months. So keep following them. Give them a look on the website. Well worth a visit. If you are a first-time visitor to the channel, 200 new subscribers this week. Please subscribe again using the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and the video. It's just down below, and it does do us a big favour. Over 700 watching. I think we've only got about 100 thumbs up at the moment. If you can hit the thumb up, it is good for us. Click share to your social media and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans and to post a comment. And thanks to all the moderators. Just made Colin Wilson a moderator tonight. He's been with us more or less from the start. Colin, thanks very much for chipping in and doing your bit. iTunes and Spotify and Podbean is where you can find us as a podcast. Usually goes up within 24 hours of the show, which means you can listen to it on your phone or your car stereo. If you want to join the cult, you can do by using your phone. Simply scan your phone over this QR code and it takes you directly to the membership. It's a one-off fee of £25, which means you can get entered into the monthly draw, and there will be one this month. John will be sorting it out and sorting the prize out from QTech. But if you pay your one-off fee, you can be part of the cult. And we've given away some great prizes. And don't forget as well, the food bank. We're big supporters of the food bank on here. Over 15 grand raised in 2 years by NUFC Matters. So NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk is where you can help the food bank if you can't get up to the game tomorrow. Drop something virtually into the match day bucket. It's there 365 days of the year. If you're going up to the game tomorrow, of course, then you can always pop up to see Steve Hasty and the gang, who will be collecting on the opposite side of the road from the ground opposite 9 Bars, where you'll see Steve. So pop up and see him, say hello, and drop some money into the bucket. You can also see me and Super Mac at the Dog and Parrot tomorrow. 1 o'clock, we'll be in doing the pre-match, and then we'll be doing the post-match at about 6:15. It is free entry. It is child-friendly. Kids are welcome, and there is food available as well as plenty alcohol. And great chat as well. Great bunch of people. A lot of the NUFC Matters crew get in there these days, so well worth coming down. And we've got 2 tickets for the match tomorrow. Now, it's a sellout, and these tickets are going to the person who gets our competition right. So 742 watching at this moment in time. Most of you will have been tuning in over the last few weeks and got the clues. But this was your first one. Somersault. Okay. And a picture of the ground underneath the arch outside the Tyneside Irish Centre. The second picture was this, the Tyne Bridge. Lovely golden photograph, that. 1st of April, 1974. Third one was this, Sports Direct signs coming down, and the word Victoria, or the name Victoria. So you need to put all those together with your final clue tonight and come up with the answer. Now, please remember, this is the first person to put the correct answer in the chat, and it is the one that John gets first. It's the one that John picks out. He is the adjudicator. He is the man who watches it, and it's slight time delays on different people's clues and answers coming in, etc. So John, I've got to say, the final word is down to John at QTech. So this is your 4th and final clue for 2 tickets, and you must be able to go to the game tomorrow. So please don't guess this if you can't go to the game tomorrow. 2 tickets for the Cambridge match tomorrow. Between 2005 and 2007, the player suggested scored 1 goal for which team? So that is between 2005 and 2007, the player suggested scored 1 goal for which team? So that is your 4th and final clue. John will keep an eye out for the correct answer. Then he will message me and not only tell me what the answer was, because I've got no clue, I've got to be perfectly honest, but also tell me who the winner is. But you must be able to go to the game tomorrow. So please don't enter if you can't go to the game, or if you know somebody who can give it to, that's fine. The tickets will be at the food bank with Steve Hasty. So Steve will have the tickets at the food bank opposite 9 Bar in his hand, and all you will need to do is go along, prove you are who you say you are, and get the tickets off Steve. Okay. So
it's a good job they're not with me.
Well, that's it. Okay. And the winner is Mozza, and he wins. And the answer was West Brom. West Brom. So the Mozza wins the tickets. Mozza, go and see Steve Hasty, or John, drop him a line, organize the collection. But Steve Hasty, go on.
Was the player Steve Watson?
Was the player Steve Watson, John? Send us a message on WhatsApp, and I'll let everybody know, because I've got no idea.
Well, get in touch with John and get the code word.
Yeah, get the code word. Get the code word. That's the code word he needs. Yeah, John, that's a good idea. Because we get
put the bat signal out.
We'll get 100 people turning up saying the Mozza. We need his proper name and we need that. So sort that out, John, and I'll leave that to you. That's your department. The winner of this T-shirt, by the way, was Finbar Saunders on Twitter. Clearly, the character from Viz. Somebody under that alias anyway, but well done. He bid £50 for the Joe Linton T-shirt, which is absolutely fantastic. Yes, it was Steve Watson, by the way, Mitch. So I've just had the message back from John. So yeah, £50 to the food bank for that T-shirt provided by Q-Tech. Big shout out again to Q-Tech for that. The next T-shirt is up on my Twitter, and this was provided by Nick DeMarco. The photograph is one of Nick's, and he sent this photograph to John and given permission to use it on one of our T-shirts. He loves what we do. Of course, Nick DeMarco played a big part in the QC involved with the takeover. Somebody who enjoyed a lot of banter with the Newcastle United fans over the takeover build-up. I think we kept his spirits up and he kept ours up with numerous photos of bread. But it's not bread on the T-shirt. It's a lovely photo of Millennium Bridge and the Tyne. So that's up on my Twitter. Give me a follow at Steve Wraith on Twitter. That's all you've got to do. And then underneath, you can place a bid. We will announce the winner of that on next Friday's show. And just before I finish on the promotion and adverts and everything else that we'll talk about, I just want to give a shout out to these hoodies. NUFCmatters.com is the website. We've got I Am the Resurrection hoodies with Joe Linton on. So well worth getting one of them to keep warm because it's still a little bit chilly outside up in the northeast at the minute. Get yourself one of them. I Am the Resurrection with Joe Linton slap bang in the middle. Filthy Rich Mags as well, another hoodie there, NUFCmatters.com. Big shout out, as always, to Q-Tech for everything they do, beavering away in the background and obviously keeping his hands in on the admin side as well and on the moderator side in the chat. Big thanks to you, John, because you're a big help, not only to us, but to the food bank as well. As I say, the amount of money that's been raised for the food bank, we do the easy bit, promoting it, but you give up your time, you give up a lot of effort to do this, and it should never be forgotten, John, how big a part you play in this whole setup of NUFC Matters. So thanks for everything you do, mate. Okay, Southampton takeover, Mitch. Going completely away from talking about takeovers, transfers, which we have been for the last hour. Southampton takeover took 2 weeks, Mitch.
Yeah, but if you look at Southampton's history of takeovers, I think it's something like 29 attempts in the last 9 years. Is it, Steve? Something bizarre like that.
24 in the last 2, apparently.
and it's a real sort of saga. It's almost. And this is the problem, and this is the problem that I think a lot of clubs. And let's mention Inter now, for example, with Chinese ownership, are going to have trouble shifting their clubs because the takeover ins and outs and who owns what and where and how much it's actually valued at is complicated. It needs some sort of super brain to work out some of these things because you don't know who holds some of the assets. The new ownership. Was the Eastern European guy who's part of it, was not he already a shareholder of some description? So in some respects that makes things easier for them. The way they're bleating and squeaking, one thing's for sure, they ain't got no money.
Yeah.
And they've got no money to spend now, and they won't have any money to spend in the future. And they're already talking about bringing young players through, and we're going to have Chelsea and Man City's youngsters, and we're going to improve them. And what they'll do is they're hoping to hit lucky, like they did with that little crop of players that pretty much all went to Liverpool for millions of pounds. And they're hoping for another cycle like that. And that's how the club will be run. I mean, I can't remember the guy's name, but he's not even the most famous Serbian with that name. There's a bloody chess grandmaster with the same name who's more famous than him. And so this is how a takeover should go through, though. Because it should just be done by the rules. And there it is. And you shouldn't be dragging external opinion in and going down business routes which really have no part in assessing whether a takeover can happen. It's farcical. It makes a farce of all the ins and outs of what they did with ours, and that wasted 18 months. It raises more questions than answers on that side of things for me. But it also shows if you're not a threat to anybody, yeah, have the club. Burnley's went through, badly leveraged, left them with more debt than what the guy who sold it had on the club. But yeah, you can come through. It's just Burnley and you're not a threat to anyone. At the minute, the next takeover that happens in the Premier League, that involves somebody with a substantial amount of money who's going to say, right, we want a seat at the top table now with the purchase of this club. I'm telling you now, there'll be objections and there'll be people finding ways to have a go at it. Why is this one flown under the radar? Because it ain't no threat to no one. It's simple as that. And I hate feeling this way. I hate even sounding like I'm part of buying into certain conspiracy theories. But the longer things go on and the more that we see simple behaviours that say anti-competitive, that say cartel-like behaviour, everything that the Premier League have been accused of, and the top six, or the big six, if you want to call them that, because I don't even call them that anymore. If you're a threat, the shit happens. And they'll try and put every barrier in your way. If you're not a threat, crack on, no problem. They should have stopped Burnley's takeover because it was so badly leveraged. It left that club further in debt than what the guy selling it had it in. Where in any sense of business does that make sense, or is that right or moral? You know, these are the questions we should be asking. And the same with Southampton's. I'd like to see where they're at. Has Gow made some debt disappear in the middle of all of this with some clever accounting? Wouldn't surprise us. But one thing's for sure, they've gone from one owner who flatly said he didn't want to invest anymore to a new ownership who have turned around and said, we can't invest anymore. It's not really much of a change, is it?
Yeah. Why would you buy a football club and then come out and say we can't invest? Now, the whole idea of buying a football club is to make the football club go forward. I think the answer to my question, which I'm probably going to answer myself now, is because you think you can take money out of it, not put money in. You think you can take money out. That's the whole top and bottom of it, and that's what will happen at Burnley. That's what will happen at Southampton. I wonder
if Southampton will take over our moniker as balance sheet champions over the next 2 years.
They may well do. They may well do so.
Yeah, they might do. It's going to be interesting. Okay, as always, we have a lot to get through on the show. I'm going to come to your comments now for a little bit before we get to the tweet of the week. And there was a question from one of our sponsors, which was Gareth at Spider VPN, basically just asking, with the transfer window open now, which player would you love to see come, Mitch? And he's asked each of us. For me, Connor Cody. That is the one player I would love to see. If I had to pick one player that I'd love to see walk through the door now, especially with a signing of Trippier, it's Connor Cody. I'd love to see him at Newcastle in a black and white shirt. That would be my number. That would be my number one.
You've taken the words out of my mouth, Steve. He's out.
Really?
He's this year's Kilcline.
Yeah,
that's how significant a signing I would see that. He's this year's Kilcline. You want a leader at the back who'll bark and bollock and shout and organise, and he'll stiffen the back four up and take away some of the stupid mistakes we've been making. I think that's your man.
Yeah. Okay, Steve.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely entirely. You look at the record of Wolverhampton Wanderers in terms of goals conceded, and it's absolutely brilliant. And it's because they've got someone who can hold a defence together and can organise. And they've got everybody else galvanised around. They're not the best of goal scorers, but I tell you what, we've got players who can score goals in our team. We've got quality there, people who can put the ball in the back of the net if they can get into the right positions. But at the moment, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, whether they're defending or whether they're playing down the left wing or whether they're playing in a holding role or in a number 10 and the lack of a striker. But I think we've got enough talent and enough people who can score goals if we can just shore ourselves up at the back. And let's face it, the best form of attack is defence sometimes. And if you can shore up your defence, You're not going to lose games. Then you start to pick up points, and then you start to grow from there. And we saw, and you're dead right, Mitch, about Kilcline. That's what Keegan did when he came in. He got someone who could take those youngsters that he had that have been playing some decent football under Ozzy Ardiles, but weren't getting the breaks. We were getting beat 4-3s and 3-2s, etc. And he looked at it and said, you know what? They need someone who can shake them up. They need someone who can basically galvanize them, but also control them and know where they need to be at a particular time on the pitch. And that's what he did. And I think Conor Cody could be the perfect man to hold that. And I think you're right with Trippier coming in. If we can get Lewis fit, or if we can get another left back, I've been touting a name, and the name I've been touting was Marcelo, who's currently at Real Madrid and has been there a lifetime. And he's getting on to 33 years of age. But I'm looking at what's happened at Chelsea, where Silva has come in and everybody wrote him off. And I'm thinking, you know what? There could be a little hidden gem in someone like a Marcelo who could come to this football club at the back end of his career and could suddenly turn into the Silva that we've seen at Chelsea in terms of totally new lifeblood and a quality player. And sometimes you look at these quality players, these quality Brazilians, and you immediately think, oh well, they're just there to take the money at the end of the day. But some of them want to carry on their career and want to carry on playing and going. And we've seen it with Dani Alves going back to Barcelona, you know, at 38 years of age. When they've been at the top, these type of players want to stay at the top and they want to carry on playing for as long as they can. But Conor Cody, for me, I agree entirely with what you're saying. And I would be absolutely ecstatic if we managed to pull off a deal for him.
The other thing we need at the back is a calming influence, like an Iceman, you know, somebody who can just keep it calm. Yeah. And because we don't have that, there's a little bit of panic there sometimes. Yeah. And that's where these players with experience would make a bloody big difference. You know, that's where I know we talked about Marcelo away from public forums. And the kind of sort of calm and influence somebody like that could bring would immediately probably reduce the silly mistakes at the back by 50%. And so, you know, it's again, it comes back to this blend. What kind of blend is in the mixer here in terms of the signings we're going to make? But I keep coming back to Cody as being the one for me.
The other thing as well, Rich and Steve, is what I think what we also got to remember is that when you bring a player like Cody in, and who has that leadership quality and the ability to go with it, sometimes that galvanizes the other players who we may have felt as though at some point in time we want to criticize for a performance, but sometimes that's what those players need, whether it's a Kieran Clark, whether it's a Lascelles, whether it's one of the fullbacks, whether it's, you know, Manquillo or Kraft. Those type of players, obviously they're all professionals, but they see the advantage of playing alongside or playing in a team with somebody, and they would thrive with a player alongside them. And I think that, you know, it's that very, very marginal gain or marginal loss that you have when it comes to professional footballers in terms of performance. We saw it with Kieran Clark, with, you know, one lapse of concentration, one pullback, you're suspended, and everybody goes against it. And I think what you get when you get a Cody coming in is you suddenly get something that is it galvanizes the squad. It doesn't shake the squad up. It doesn't cause a problem within the squad. It galvanizes the squad. Let's face it, most professional footballers know that their days are limited with a club and everybody moves on. And, you know, if Cody moves in, other players, there might be players that will move out, but that's the way it goes. And I think it would be fantastic acquisition for us.
Derek Sharp saying Trippier will be our organizer. I was thinking, there's a company named that, and it was Trip Advisor, isn't it? Not Trip Organizer. Tony Stevenson says this transfer window is like a trip to B&M. You go in looking for 2 or 3 things, and you come out with loads spending a bomb. That's a great way of describing it, by the way. Yeah. If Botman is more than 50 million, I reckon Lille would be robbing us.
Hey.
Very good, very, very good.
Started something now, Mitch.
Is Barnett
He's a utility belt player.
Oh God almighty. Lille won 30 million for him according to Sky Sports. Loads of rumours and loads of counter rumours. There is an outgoing, although it's not one that most of us will be common with. Roser Longello has completed a permanent transfer to League One side Accrington Stanley in the last hour. He was 22-year-old. He joined the Magpies Academy in the summer of 2018 from West Ham. He made 73 appearances for Newcastle's second string during a 4-year stint on Tyneside. And he was also part of the under-23 squad, which reached the Premier League Division 2 playoff final and the Premier League Cup final during the 2018-2019 season. Newcastle United Academy manager Steve Harper said, Roser has reached the age where he needs to be playing first-team football, and we're happy to have helped him get the opportunity to do so. We'd like to thank Ross for his contributions since his arrival at the club and wish him all the best in the future. Good luck, Ross. So there is an official outgoing. A lot of us didn't expect to see that. But as Retro Andy says, Accrington Stanley, who are they? Exactly, lads. Exactly. Yep. Okay, time to move on to another one of our regular segments. It's Tweet of the Week. Tweet of the week, and we do get sent a lot of these. Some of them we scour the internet ourselves. Some of them aren't tweets. Some of them get picked up from other social media. But yeah, some pretty good ones. This one. And let's start off with our friend, who I know we've told him he's got a regular slot on the show now. I've told him he needs to read these in. But go on, Steve.
Yes, just been to my mate's funeral after he was hit on the head with a tennis ball. It was a lovely service.
Brilliant. There you go, Elliot. You even gets a reaction now from his female fans, Elliot. So well done, mate. Look forward to the next one. Dan Harrison says, it's if as seems likely, Newcastle's versus Saints is called off, I think it's only fair that for every future game, Newcastle should only be allowed to score headers and volleys, and for our defenders should have to play in wellies just to make it fair. I mean, I love that, and I know it's a bit dated now, but honestly, Steve, it just sums up, doesn't it? The Twitter, the Twitter outpouring of saltiness from other supporters.
Yes, absolutely, and salty is the word, isn't it? They're all just scrambling around. I mean, the managers are bad enough, but now the fans are getting equally worked up for something that's really they've got no control of and they've got no say in. But it's giving them something to shout about, Steve. So let them get on with it. We're not interested.
Let them get on with it. Chris A sent this one, just a photograph of two well-known faces there. And on the left, we have the Corrupt Six, looking a little bit upset. And on the right, we have Newcastle United, which, Chris, you must have had a good...
Sophia Loren, isn't it? I'm not sure who it is on the other side.
It's Sophia Loren and Jane Mansfield, mate.
So Chris must have had a drink that night when he saw all this. And if he was thinking about the Corrupt Six and Newcastle United whilst looking at Sophie Loren and Jane Mansfield, there's something wrong with him. Steve, Tommy Jones.
This is from Tommy Jones, Tommy 104 or 12. He says, just seen a tweet from a United fan saying Ronaldo has tested positive for being the greatest player in the world. A Scouser replied, thank God he's not showing any symptoms. And that's the sort of salty stuff that we do enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. This one was Sam Chipperfield. NUFC bidding for players has got me like this. Yes, that's Steve Bruce photograph. It does do the rounds. I've got to be honest as well, I'm a big fan of Buzzcocks, the stuff on Twitter, and there's been some absolutely brilliant ones of them. People use that every now and then. It's great. Of course, Joe Linton was called the GOAT by a few people on Twitter last week. So someone knocked this up, Milburn 17, Anthony Milburn, which is great. I mean, it's just the turnaround of Joe Linton over the last few weeks has been nothing short of incredible. Again, this one shows the saltiness from a Southampton fan, Steve.
Yes, he says, if, in inverted commas, the Newcastle game gets called off, then they should have a rule put in place so that they can't use any new players they are going to sign in January, as it's almost certain that these would be a bonus to them and a negative for us and wouldn't make it fair. Well, Dan, life is fair, son. Sorry.
The darts, I'm not sure whether anybody saw it, but it was thoroughly entertaining. Always is over the Christmas period. There was a couple of Geordies cited. This one was Daz Curry tweeted this one. COVID mags on that sign, which I thought was brilliant. Daz tweeted that one. And I caught a glimpse of this one myself when I was watching the game, but this one was on Instagram. Magpie247 put it out. Joe Linton is class. So yeah, plenty of Newcastle United fans in the crowd at the darts, and always good to see. Fun 88. I certainly enjoy taking the Fun 88 out of Manchester United. ESPN had said Man United's players have stopped eating dessert in the canteen since Cristiano Ronaldo's arrival, according to Eric Bailey. Fun 88 said they did enjoy some festive nutmeg courtesy of Joe Linton, though, which is in reference to Joe Linton megging their players, which was great. This again was brilliant from another rival fan, Steve.
Yes, this is a Pink Hammer. He says, your team currently could not beat an egg or wank at the moment as you have Raffard as yours quad is utter dog shite. You are the second cert to go down as no matter who you sign in this window, and that's if you can actually get anybody decent. It's not too late as you're doomed. Oh, sorry, it is too late. It's too late as you're doomed. Hashtag Butte. Wow.
Yeah. Give him a follow, Newcastle fans, and just screenshot that, and let's see where we are in May. It could be one of those where you just
does that tweet come in English?
You can just. I think it's just one of those where you say that aged well. I think that's what you tend to say on those ones. I love this one from Pete Graves. Lovely touch from Trippier walking into the training ground doing the Shearer. Welcome to the tune, Kieran. Perfectly snapped photo. I don't know whether you guys saw the video that was doing the rounds as well, which was can't believe Newcastle United picked Kieran DPD delivered Kieran Trippier, and there was a wonderfully taken angled video of Kieran Trippier coming out of his medical. And obviously he's walking into the back of the Newcastle United transport carrier, but you can't see it. And then actually the timing of it looks as if he's getting into the back of the DPD van, and then the DPD van drives off. So that video created a hell of a lot of a stir, and people saying, well, Christ almighty, I hope they don't deliver him like he delivers my parcel, like chucking it out the window. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. This was from David McCreary, a former player of this parish, Steve.
Yes, never understand why players who get red cards for unnecessary tackles and put their teammates under pressure get clapped off. Wow, David could put a tackle in mind.
Could he? 100%. The last one was on Instagram. I did like this, and because we've just come out of the Christmas period, it did seem quite apt. This was from my mate Martin in Chesterley Street. It's a picture of Jesus at the table. All the lads tested positive.
I think that's nearer Easter than Christmas, mate, Steve.
Well, it is, yeah. But you know, it's got Christmas connotations because it's Christ.
Love it.
But I thought that was good. Very funny. Made me giggle anyway. Thanks everybody for sending them in and referring them to us as well. Keep them coming. We'll show some more tweets of the week next week. Still got Troll of the Week, of course, and it's a hat-trick special for you, Julie, on that one. And still got our lookalikes to come. Horse cross runs are available, Steve, now, says Jeff. So it could be close to Easter. But it was the reference. It was the reference to Jesus Christ. I think we've just had Christmas, and I think that was the reason that my mate posted it. Kirk says the Buzzcocks Longstaff toilet one had me pissing myself with laughter. Yeah, it honestly really was. You just got to look at Buzzcocks and go and chase them. You know, it's well worth a look on Twitter. Is this a sober Mitch I see, says Stu Penman?
No.
What are you actually drinking tonight? Because I've probably missed that.
It's just a different pot, that's all. It's a pot my dad sent us back with. It's a tankard with the club logo on, and you can probably see on the bottom has. And no, I've got the Grand Marnier and Fanta on the go again tonight. Cracking.
Grand Marnier and Fanta.
Aye.
Dear me.
You're missing a treat, Mr. Hasty. You're missing a treat.
I don't think I am.
And I popped into Goodfellas before I came home as well, so I had a couple of fights in there as well. So yeah, no.
Yeah. Phil
Perhaps
Shuttleworth.
I am still a little sober, not terribly, But,
Phil Shuttleworth, he asks, thoughts from you all. What do you think of Morelos from Rangers as a replacement for or working with Wilson? Mitch?
Too likely to get sent off for me. I have an issue with his disciplinary record. And I think if they can exploit it in the Scottish Premiership, by God, they'll exploit that in the Premiership. And it comes with too much risk. Good striker. I think he's aggressive. And this is the challenge with players like him. You ask him to take the aggression away, he's probably not quite the same player. And I think he does take up good positions. I think he's one of these ones who knows when to move in the box and knows when not to move in the box, which is sort of sometimes more important. But for me, my biggest concern is his disciplinary record, and I think that would get exploited at the top flight here.
Yeah, okay. Rumours are Ashley's in for Derby. Not the first time we've heard that. It's got to be said, Derek. Steve, Morelos, are you sharing the same kind of concerns as Mitch, or would you like to see him at Newcastle?
Yeah, I am actually. I think that in the Premier League, it's not the sort of thing. I mean, you can get away with it in Scotland to a certain degree, but I think when you get out into the Premier League, I think 1, 2, 3 sends off in a season, and you're literally the referees down here would have him marked, and he would be marked anyway if he wore a black and white shirt. We know that. But he would be doubly marked man if he came down and had the same sort of disciplinary problems that he'd had up in Scotland. So big risk, big gamble. I don't know where Rangers are going at the moment. They seem to be suddenly turning themselves back into a selling club. And I noticed that they're raising money on the stock market again, or rather raising money through share issues and stuff like that. They've just lost Gerrard. They will have got compensation for him. So, suddenly... If they lost Morelos as well, I think that would have question marks over what's going on up in Scotland, to be perfectly honest. But no, for me, he doesn't fit in. I think we've moved on from last season, the season before, when we were linked with a player like Morelos. I think we're fishing in a much deeper bowl now than the shallow pit that we had with when Morelos' name was being bandied around.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't take a gamble on him. I think there's better players that we can get in. Jersey Mag says, would you guys take Marko Arnautovic? People love it when they send a name and then I'm struggling with from Bologna as big front man and EPL proven. I always think that Premier League proven is something important, especially when you're in a position
very important
at the moment. Yeah. Very
important, which is why you could lump in with that name someone like Jekyll as well. Been there, done it, knows how it works. Yeah, he's a bit older, same with Arnautovic. But I don't think we're going to need to be worried about what we're worried about securing Premiership.
No, Keith Patterson,
for next season.
Good evening to Keith. What about Belotti? He could be bought and would deliver goals. And I want to get Mark Byers as well. He says, Mitch, are you a Botman or an Umtiti man?
How dare you? No. Botman all the way for me, mate.
Botman all the way.
Out of that. Yeah, out of those two, definitely. Titty, it was interesting. I think didn't he get a horrible injury and he's never quite been the same since.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Botman would be easier to get as well because Barcelona still want to play this. We're fine. Everything's fine. And, Iraqi information officer type. Everything's fine. Well, why is everything fine when you cannot register your new signing yet? So that's a curious one. Ironically, I think Botman would be easier to get just simply because of the economics. We can put a bid on the table that'll secure their wage bill for 2 years. Yeah.
I think it's an interesting one. What about you, Steve? Belotti, is that somebody you would like?
You know what? Yes, he would probably get goals, but I think there are plenty of other players out there. I mean, obviously, we're here in. Is it? How do you pronounce it? I'm going to ask you how to pronounce stuff, Steve. That's a ridiculous thing to do, isn't it? Jalovic, is it? The Serbian at He's at Fiorentina. I mean, he's been described as the sort of, you know, the reincarnation of Batistuta. The amount of goals he's getting in the Italian league, I think he's already up to 21 goals or something in something like 25 or 26 appearances. It's crazy numbers. Somebody like that would excite me. You know, someone who would know is been getting goals and is young. I think you go on to the next stage. You mentioned Arnautovic there. I think that's the sort of stopgap that you could have, because I think someone Arnautovic or a Dzeko, it would probably be on a 2-year contract, of which there would probably only end up being here a year. But again, it's a bit like when you look at how was he from Sweden? Who's at Man United? You know, he moves clubs every 2 years, still playing football at 39-year-old. And you're thinking, you know, that's what these players are. They're at that stage. I mean, Dzeko just went from, I think it was at Roma, and he just moved on to Milan last season, and he's still scoring goals at 30-odd-year-old, 35-year-old, you know. So there are goals in these players because of their experience. And I think, you know, we could get somebody like that because, as I say, they're stopgap players when they're at that age. And if we're at that stepping stone, moving on and forward, then it could be the way that the hierarchy are looking.
For me, give you a comparison. Look at the players that Cleveland signed: Venison, Bracewell, Sheedy. You know, he brought experienced people in with the object that we were going to get out of that championship and then into the Premiership, and then build from there. And actually, probably gave Bracewell an extra 18 months in his career, because everybody said he was finished with his knees. You know, and Venison just became an England international at the twilight of his career when he was playing for us.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is what this kind of signing can do. And that's why I keep going back to the blend and the mix of whatever we'll bring in. It's got to be right.
Yeah.
And it can still be exciting, because it can be, we're talking about platforms to get to the next level, And we're going to need experienced heads who know what the Premiership is about to get out of this shite.
Mike Ashley going to Derby County is interesting. I think we all expected him to make a move at some point, Steve. It's now confirmed that he's actually had talks about buying the club. You know, is it a surprise? And do you think he'll have success there? Because, you know, Derby isn't as big a club as Newcastle. You know, do you think he'll be welcomed with open arms, or do you think they'll want to get shot of him as much as us and Rangers fans did?
He's looking at value there, isn't he? That's what he's looking at. He's seen something behind the scenes that he can make money on, and it's not to spend money. Let's put it this way. But I think once he starts to dig in and he sees the financial mess that Derby are in, and he sees who owns what and what bits wouldn't be getting, etc., you know, you're talking about an owner, the previous owner at Derby, who put something like £250 million into that club and has written it off, but still owns the baseball ground or whatever it's called now, Pride Park. And it's those things that hang on. So you hear an owner going, "Oh well, I'm going to sell the club for £1," and then, yeah, but hidden behind the scenes, I'm also owning this, I'm owning that, and basically still taking a hold. And we've seen it and this is what stifles a club. Ashley will only be going in there if he sees a bargain, if he sees that he can get something for his own money.
When the show's over, I'll drop a line to the other Steve that we've never really named on here, because he'll know.
Yes,
because he knows Mel Morris and he knows Mike Ashley.
Yes.
And so if anybody knows what's going on there, because he's the guy, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, he's the guy that messaged me out the blue one day saying, "Do you want to be in on a deal to buy Derby for £5?" And I'm like, "You're taking the piss." He says, "No, let's see what we can do." And it's like, and the problem is, because again, I've had long discussions with this guy about it.
We're losing your mic a little bit, Mitch. We're losing your mic a little bit. It must be getting stifled under something.
Okay.
That's it. That's better.
the problem that both the previous bidders who've agreed deals with the administrator is the tax bill.
Yeah.
Both of those guys wanted the Inland Revenue to write the tax bill off. And I can tell you now, that ain't going to happen. And so whoever buys the club, and this was why the conversation I had with this gentleman was very brief, is how do you cover the tax bill? Because I certainly can't cover a £20 million tax bill. Now, if Ashley can find a way to do that and see something in the club he wants to make money out of it, then on you go. He certainly could cover it. But then what does he want to do with it after that? Or has he done some? Is he looking at doing some side deal to buy the ground? Because I guess whoever bought the ground off Morris, or did he sell it to himself?
Sold it to
never
himself.
Really remember. Aye. So if a deal could be brokered with Morris for the ground, you're actually getting quite an efficient setup with a good ground, and the youth setup's not bad because I know. One of the academies out here sends players. There was a couple of players who just played with out here in the UAE who ended up at Derby. So, I know the academy setup there is not bad either. And it's a vaguely functioning club for all it's been dysfunctional for the last 3 years. And that's all because of one man. So he's got to sit. If he's interested, he's seeing a way to make money. It's as simple as
Week
that.
3 advertisement, as Dan says, and you know what? The best thing, it's got absolutely nothing to do with us. So happy days. Sorry, Derby. It's your problem now if that knacker ends up running your football club.
Yeah.
Okay. On to one of your favourite subjects and one of your favourite categories. It's Toon Lookalike. The post bag is full, as they used to say on Swap Shop, or whatever it was on a Saturday morning. Multicoloured Swap Shop, that was right, wasn't it?
It was Swap Shop, aye.
It was Swap Shop, I was
But
right.
Tiz was on your watch on the other side.
Tiz was good as well, yeah. Okay, I did miss a few last week because there was a few which had escaped the mailbag, but here we go. This one was from Dave Dixon, who told me off for not showing this, and I said, Dave, this is your responsibility. That is obviously a bad photo of Jurgen Klopp and a photo of Hawkins, isn't it? So, yes,
Even
there you are,
Hawkins.
Dave. I've showed it. That is your responsibility. That is your lookalike. Not a good one, but
blame Dave, please.
It is at the bottom. We hold no responsibility for that. But Dave, that is your photo, and we having a disclaimer against that one. But we've shown it. It was quite accurate as far as the way Jurgen's face was. Let's put it that way. This one, again, was sent last week from Scarred for Life. Joe Linton, Ryan Fraser, and Isaac Hayden, which I thought was brilliant. Very good. Nothing like them, but I can see where you're coming from with the height. This one was Mitch for next week's Toon Lookalike. Mitch was a cartoon character. Sorry, Mitch, he says. And this one, Lee said, yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. Ranić, and is that Kessler from Secret Army? Oh, no, it's the guy from Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then we've got this one from Dazalad, McCluskey from OMD, and John Collins. Very good, that.
Yeah. Often thought that one, mind, yeah. Good band as well. Good band.
And then we've got this one, Eddie Howe and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Nail and Tony Adams.
That's another one that we've often thought about as well, isn't it? Yeah. Really good, those two.
That's from Tom Dixon. We've got this one from Tom as well. Wagner and Jonas.
Of course.
Yes.
Wagner, of course, rose to fame on another reality show. This one was Jamie Boyle. I've got to say that is pretty good. Like, that is the guy, because he's a big Celtic fan, of course, and that is Larson, isn't it?
Henrik Larsson on the right, yeah.
And Celtic's new signing on the left.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, almost separated at birth.
Yeah.
Almost separated at birth. This one, From Graham Coleman. Hi, Steve. Just been watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Steve Hasty's made an appearance as the witch. Do look alike.
Right. Oh, Graham, thanks very much.
Anyone with white hair? And then Graham said, Mitch with a beard, looking like Brian Blessed.
I think I should get a prosthetic beard for next week.
Get one, yeah.
And talk like Gordon's alive.
Gordon's alive. This one was from Chris. I wasn't bothered about the second one because we've had that comparison, but I thought the first one was very good. Simon Jordan and that cartoon character. Very good, very lifelike, and they've got the same glasses. This one was from Dazza Lad as well, Brothers, which was quite eerie. And again, I think we've had that one before. And this one was sent to us on Twitter, and we've got Mitch on the far right-hand side. That's an album cover, apparently.
It's Roy Orbison, Elvis, and I don't know who that is.
It's Mitch.
It's me, obviously.
Yeah,
maybe
but
it's George. Maybe it was George. Maybe it's around about that time. This one was good, Albert, but that wasn't Sam Matterface, so we had to scrap. We had to scrap that one. And Albert was going on a bit of a mission because he was saying, "I better win this week, otherwise." Well, I'll show you his tweet later. Kevin Spink says, "Is Joe Linton a secret part-time actor?" Popped up twice on Sunday. Butch Cassidy and then Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Everybody was watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I'm not so sure about the second one. I think the first one you could probably get away with it, but yeah, okay. Another Steve Hasty one here. Jimmy Moore says, "Toon lookalikey Ric Flair next morning after spending New Year's Eve in Newcastle." Pretty good. This one was a video, but I managed to get a still of it from Alan McKenzie. Steve Hasty getting measured up by Steve Wraith at NUFC Toon Talk hoodie.
Yeah, and what happens on the video is he takes the tape measure down, swings it back, and he gets cracked in the you-know-whats.
Chris here sent this one in. Some cheese that looks like Mitch.
Fantastic.
Chris is having a bad week, isn't he?
Well, I think this was the same night that he sent that other thing in. I think he was on the wine and cheese. I think we've established now what he was on.
Did he do some dodgy mushrooms that night or something?
Albert Mooney was in full effect. Happy New Year. Looks like a great 2022. And then he just put a load of photographs in of Steve Hasty superimposed on hair. Then we got this one. Again, let's hope that the trolls don't think it's all about Steve in 2022. I see what you did there. We got a random dog photo sent in by Paul and said it's Steve Hasty. So as usual, it's par for the course. This one was supplied by Mitch himself. And I thought, actually, it looks like Mitch. There he is.
There he is.
Very lifelike, very good. Yeah, I can see that one, definitely. Dazza said this one, Thanos from the Avengers and Lee from Newcastle Fans TV, one of our competitors on YouTube, one of our friends on YouTube. So you've made it, Newcastle Fans TV, a bit of publicity for you. That was one from the previous one. This one was from Alan as well. JD Dyer from today's Transfer Talk on Sky and Raheem Sterling. Unbelievable, Jeff, he says.
That is good, that one. That is. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's Sterling. He reminds me of somebody. I might have to do my own lookalike next week, but he definitely reminds me of somebody. Okay, we're coming into the top three. So has Albert made it into the top three? At number 3 is Albert, Kane and Ryan Gosling. If none of these win this week, I'm going to go for Troll of the Week by calling you an ungrateful, baldy twat, he says.
Looks like he's getting Troll of the Week next week then.
At number 2, it's Albert, Andy of Toy Story, and Rafa.
Maybe he's getting there. Aye, well, yes. Aye.
So, who is at number 1? It's not Dave Dixon, that's for sure. Chris A redeems himself with this.
Wow.
Kieran Trippier and Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen.
What an absolute belter, Chris A. Well done, mate. You're in the chat as well to take your glory. That was outstanding. And that's who I was named after, guys. My mum named me after Steve McQueen. So that was a worthy winner. Albert, better luck next week, mate. And I haven't got room for you in Troll of the Week because I've got a load of trolls this week. So I'm afraid that you're not going to win that either. So just to let you know. But yeah, that's Tuna Lookalike for now. Get more into us. Send them to me, Steve, or Mitch, or anybody involved with NUFC matters, and we'll show them next week. FA Cup week, lads. Is a cup run important, Mitch?
I think it's balancing. Does it become a distraction? And do we have extra games that we'd rather not have? Versus any kind of run of good form. And when you keep on a roll and you keep winning, it doesn't matter how many games you're playing because your form just carries you through. I think a nice cup run would be, for us, I think, a nice distraction from what's going on around. And I particularly with a squad buoyant with new faces and better equipped to deal with the Premiership, a cup run might actually be quite nice and give some of the players who maybe were starters and now becoming more fringe players time to integrate with the squad. So I'd actually think the cup run might be quite nice.
Steve?
I think in any other year, you would have normally, like over the last 3 or 4, we've heard it, we've got injuries, we've got this, we've got that, we've got to concentrate on staying in the league. And yet, despite our position, I think when you look at the squad, when you look at the fact that we've got new players potentially coming in, and then you hear the likes of Joe White and Elliot Anderson being mentioned by the manager, and then obviously Dylan Stevenson could well be another feature. I think it's a great opportunity for those youngsters. Sean Longstaff, Matty Longstaff coming back again. I think if we go on a cup run and it involves some of the youngsters, I think again that would be absolutely buoyant for the club. I think it would be great for those who are hovering under the squad to get that opportunity and really show the manager what they can do. I think it's a really, really important time for everybody in the squad and everybody around the club. I think it would just keep the pot boiling. I think we know that the interest's there from the fans, but I think to go on a cup run as well, I think it would just be explosive for us. Absolutely brilliant. And I love the cup anyway. I mean, when you go back to those times of, the cup finals and the cup semi-finals that we went into in the 90s and then in 2000, then the semi-final again in 2005. It's fantastic times. We've all got great memories of cup runs. And I think, just to be able to go on another cup run and to be up there challenging. And again, it's the statement that it makes to the rest of the league, that we're taking the cup seriously, or that we're contenders. Just being at the moment a contender for something like an FA Cup and getting into the last 8 or the last 4, I think would be an absolutely tremendous message to send out and a great boost for the club and a great boost for the fans. So absolutely looking forward to tomorrow.
We've been linked with a lot of players. We've only signed Trippier so far, Mitch. But, I mean, would you play a strong enough team? I mean, will you expect the likes of Sorensen and White are going to get a run out tomorrow? You'd expect to see maybe he's a Dwight Gale in there. Maybe he's a Matty Longstaff. But, I mean, and we've seen it in previous years under other managers, you have strength and depth on the bench in case things go south. But I would expect to see Trippier make a run out as well tomorrow at some point because he's been passed to play.
Depends what kind of reaction the manager thinks he's going to get from the players. Because there's places up for grabs because we've got injuries. Wilson's out for an indeterminate amount of time. I don't know whether there's been any news on ASM yet. In terms of how long his quote-unquote injury is going to keep him out for.
Sounded like last week it wasn't as bad as we thought, and he'll be available for Watford, but not for the cup game. Right.
Okay. But so there's places up for grabs, and if he thinks the player's going to say to him, right, well, go on, the manager, drop us. There's the perfect game to stick them into. Home tie, Third division club. We should be able to mix and match and put out something strong enough to beat them. If he thinks as much as Vanderson and White as he does, it wouldn't surprise us to see at least one of them get a run out. People have been crying to see Elliot Anderson in the first team for ages, so it might be his chance. And so it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. Sky Italy, everybody mind, are not the most reliable sources for information on what's happening on the transfer market, by the way. It's very agent-led. But that's another matter. We should be able to rest a few and pick a team strong enough to put Cambridge out of the cup at home. You know, it would be super disappointing if we didn't. And I don't think Eddie Howe will allow that to happen. I don't think there's going to be complacency there. A good win against Cambridge would be a nice morale booster for the entire squad, no matter who plays.
Yeah, okay. Would you like to see, a few youngsters getting a game tomorrow, Steve?
Yeah, I'd like to see that blend coming in. I'd like to see them getting the opportunity to be blooded and playing in front of 52,000 and seeing whether they've got the wherewithal to do that. I think the likes of an Elliot Anderson, haven't seen him play in the reserves or the under 23s as it's called now. I think there's definitely a player inside there. He's head and shoulders above most other players that are on the pitch when you go to the under 23s. He does look like he's got it. Something special about him. He's got that sort of swagger, and I think playing in front of 52,000 tomorrow would be a great opportunity for him.
It's a nice
for special players, the cup as well. The pressure's off, and I think you'll see some of the squad players that perhaps haven't had a run out. Remember, we haven't had a game since the Man United game. It's 10 days now, and some of those players, the likes of Kieran Clark, for example. Probably hasn't kicked the ball in anger. So there's opportunities there for players to come in and just keep the momentum going as well. Be interesting to see what he does.
It's a great opportunity for one of the youngsters to be chucked into 50,000 crowd and say, right, are you just going to stand there like a scarecrow, or are you going to make things happen? What can you do, and how are you, and how are you going to be? I think in a situation like that, you've got now to lose. And you'll find something out about your young talent, about what they are mentally.
Yeah, no, 100%. 52,000 there tomorrow, Mitch, is mind blowing, isn't it? I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head what the last FA Cup attendance was, but it was probably in and around the 35, 36,000 mark. So to get a full house for a game against Cambridge United tells you all you need to know about the excitement now that surrounds our football club.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, go back to the piece I wrote for Arab News. I was back over at Christmas to the Man U game, and here we are languishing at the bottom of the table, and yet the atmosphere was something akin to Keegan's entertainment years. And the biggest difference is the belief. There's a belief there, a belief in the manager, a belief in the squad, a belief in the consortium that it's going to come right and we're going to get it right. And to then sell out for a third-round cup tie against a third-tier team is typically bonkers and mental of our fan base, and also I think reflects what the FA Cup means to our club. We've talked about this on the Retro Show, about how cup fever spreads easily amongst us. We've got this for all we've not won it for such a long time, we still have this affinity born out of the 50s, where we're treated like our trophy. And it was our trophy for a period of 5 years, just about. And that still sticks. And there's still a romance there that would love to get involved in the mix with the FA Cup. And to sell out against Cambridge is just fantastic.
Yeah. I tell you what was interesting, Mitch, was when there was a little note that was put up on social media from Cambridge fans asking which pub would they recommend for away fans. And I think it was somebody replied, well, I think it was one of our sponsors actually replied, any of the 108 within a mile radius of Newcastle and you'll be welcome. And I thought that was an absolutely fantastic way to respond to a call like that. Because let's face it, when people are coming to Newcastle, they are welcome. And that's what makes it, again, that next step up, and that's what makes it exciting when you're mingling with fans and you can have a good chat and
absolutely,
and a bit of Mickey taking and a bit of wind up and just decent conversation. And I think the Cambridge fans are going to revel in it tomorrow, all 5,000 of them.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to get thousands watching training again. I can imagine that's like. Can we afford a cup run? Was what Trulls was asking. Yeah, Trulls, we can. This is Project Restart. And that started, I think, with the Manchester United game. Was thoroughly entertaining. And Newcastle should have got 3 points. They didn't. The way that the chips have fallen over the last couple of weeks with the results going our way, those teams who had games in hand that have been chipped away, we find ourselves almost on a level playing field now. And winning breeds confidence and it breeds success. And I think winning against Cambridge with a team out comprehensively, bringing some more signings in before the Watford game, yes, I think a cup run would be good as well. So 100%. Dave says it should be a sellout, £10 a ticket. But that's great because it's given youngsters an opportunity to go. And especially in these hard times, Dave, that we find ourselves in with the ever-increasing bills that we all find and the never-increasing wages. For a football club of Newcastle stature to hand out £10 tickets for adults and £5 tickets for kids, that's what you want to see. And long may that continue because it could be the only chance some kids get to go to a Newcastle game for a while. And they're the future of our club. So, yeah, well done, Newcastle, for maintaining that kind of tradition, if you like. One thing that Ashley and Lambias got right, it's got to be said. So, yeah, well done to them. As for the training, I think that would be really, really... I think that would be really good if it could be done. But I just think in the modern day, I couldn't see that happen. I couldn't see that happen at all. Beating Derby in the last minute winner. Camera pans to Mike Ashley with his Derby scarf. If Carlsberg did FA Cup tallies, you should have tweeted that, John. You would have got on the show. Go on, Mitch. I think you were going to say something.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of it being important about letting people get to the game for £10 and £5. I think that really is a super important thing to do, to take advantage of. And it's about reconnecting the club to the community. That's something that was lost under Ashley very, very much. With some of those club community links were worn thin to breaking point at times. And I think anything the club can do to give back to the community, the way, for example, the Rubens match, the food bank donation, things like that. In the grand plan of things, in a world of £150,000 a week players, they're small fry, but they're really important. They're really, really important. For a club like ours, which is literally in the heart of the city, it's the heartbeat of the city. We all look to it, whether we're 1 mile away or 4,500 miles away or more. It's the beacon that we look to. It's the thing that we say, well, we're Newcastle. When we turn around to people in the Middle East who say, why are you not Chelsea? Why are you not Arsenal? Because they're not my teammate. My team's Newcastle. That's where I'm from.
Mm-hmm. Lads, I'm going to have to interrupt this because I missed this guy's phone call the other night. And 2 seconds, Charlie, how are you? I'm on my live podcast, mate. So can you say a quick hello to the viewers?
Yeah. All right, everybody. How's life treating you? 2022 is going to be a blinder. I'm waiting there for me jam roll date, public hearing. It's 50-50. I'll have a Newcastle brand with you lot later. Love and respect. Your old China, Charlie.
Who's Tottenham got in the cup, Charlie?
Oh, I don't know who.
I don't know. Does anybody know, lads? Do you know who Tottenham have got in the cup? No?
Nope.
Steve? No.
Not off the top of my head.
Newcastle's got Cambridge tomorrow, Charlie. Who do you think's going to win?
Yeah, we got. It's a nice football tonight on the telly, you know.
Yeah, I've got your bet on.
What odds?
20-1. That's for Swindon to beat Man City. But Newcastle against Cambridge. Give us your prediction.
Oh, 4-0.
To Newcastle?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Right.
It's the new geezer playing for Newcastle.
He's been passed, yeah, he can play, Charlie. So Trippier can make his debut.
Right, I've knocked that up then. 5-0.
I love it. Free kick from him. Give us a ring back in 10 minutes. I've got to finish the show.
Right, listen, have a good one. The football kicks off in about half hour, you know.
Yeah, give us a ring back in 10 minutes.
Hey, I can't wait.
Top man. For those of you who didn't know, that's Charlie Salvador, who's 43 years into a prison sentence. He should be released, but he is a good lad, and he's a Spurs fan, and we have a lot of chats about football. But he's gone for 5-0 to Morris. You heard it here first. He's got in with his prediction before everybody else. I'll come to your predictions in a minute, lads. I'll let you compose yourselves after that amazing phone call. And we'll go for Julie's favourite, which, of course, is Troll of the Week. Okay, Troll of the Week. It's a hat trick, Julie. So you're going to love this because I'm going to play the music 3 times. So first of all, Mitchy D, no connection to Mitch. Simple one. He just called me a nonce. Thanks, mate. Following on from that, Ross Wheatley didn't like me singing. Called us a nonce. Thanks, Ross. At last, somebody with a bit of imagination. Action Jackson. Imagine thinking you're Steve Wraith. Proper cock. Thanks, Action Jackson. I love it. Keeps us grounded. Julie, you'll love that. A hat trick of Trolls of the Week and the music 3 times. And the cat going like that. There you go, Julie. That was just for you. I know you've had a bad week this week after the passing of our good friend, so I hope that cheered you up. Okay, my prediction. Well, Charlie Salvador's prediction was 5-0. I'm going to be a little bit more measured. I'm going to go Newcastle to win 3-0. Mitch, you can have your prediction now, and then tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, you're going to
get the dice out.
The dice out at 10 o'clock in the morning because we are here tomorrow. Mick Lowe's and the guys from the Middle East. So go for it, Mitch.
3-0.
Same as me. Steve?
3-1.
3-1.
Can I just say, Steve, I never thought I'd be on the show and have Toons Tipster replaced by Charlie Salvador.
Charles Salvador. Yeah.
You know,
it's an absolute classic.
Sorry, Toon Tipster, but you've been blown out.
He has. He has. Okay. As always, Toon Tipster would have joined us for the last half hour of the programme. We haven't got him, but I am delighted to say that Toon Stato did manage to send his report in. I got it a little bit late and had a little bit of difficulty adding it, but here we go.
Hello lads and a happy new year. Wishing everyone watching an amazing 2022 and hopefully Newcastle can win their first cup since ages. Talking of that, we start with Cambridge United tomorrow at St James's Park. What can be a debut for Kieran Trippier, who is our first signing who scored at a semi-final of a World Cup since 2004 when we bought Patrick Kluivert, who scored in the 1998 World Cup semi-final for the Netherlands against Brazil. As you all know, Kieran Trippier scored in the last World Cup semi-final for England against Croatia. By the way, he's taking up number 15. The last number 15 to score for Newcastle in the FA Cup was Nobi Suwano back in 2001 against Aston Villa. Newcastle against Cambridge, they have played 16 times in their history, every time in the league and every time in the second division. At St James's Park, Newcastle has 7 wins and only 1 draw against the opposition. And the last time they met was in the promotion winning season 92-93, when at St James's Park, Newcastle won 4-1, hat-trick by Ned Kelly and a goal by Gavin Peacock. For Cambridge that day, Steve Claridge was the goal scorer. Let's wish the guys good luck tomorrow and count on the fact that Newcastle went through 4 out of the past 5 times they played in the third round of the FA Cup. The only loss was last year against Arsenal, while the other 4 successes were always against lower league opposition, as is the case tomorrow. Have a great year, everyone.
Great stuff, as always, from Andre. Thanks very much, and Happy New Year to you, mate. Time to get your Christmas tree down. It's after the 12th night. But as always, fantastic show. 800 viewers at one point tonight. Big shout out to all the moderators, as usual. We are back tomorrow morning. Mick Lowe's is back in the saddle along with the lads from the Middle East. So looking forward to seeing Mitch bright and early at 10 o'clock. And as always, we never take your support for granted. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Have a great weekend, and let's hope we get a good, comprehensive win tomorrow. Mitch, Steve, thanks for joining us as always. Take care. See you guys next Friday.
Cheers, Steve.
Cheers, everyone.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. Put it to